Chapter 21, Dog Love. After a few months working together, Jack McNasty invited me to move into his house in New Rochelle. He thought it would be a good idea for me to be closer to the recording studio we were working in. He also hoped that my living with him would help keep me out of trouble, and until some money kicked in, he wasn't going to charge me any rent. I didn't hesitate. For a Yonkers nigga, always fresh out of jail, to have a spot in New Rochelle, that meant I was making moves because to anyone from Yonkers, New Row was viewed as a pretty upscale city. There were still projects there, but the community was dominated by middle income Black and Latino families that worked to keep their neighborhoods nice. The streets were generally cleaner, the evenings were quieter, and families who moved there could expect an easier day to day life compared to their Yonkers neighbors who had to survive through a far grimier set of realities. The space I had in Jack's house was almost like a one-bedroom apartment because my bedroom was off to the side of the house next to the kitchen. I had my own bathroom and an enclosed porch area that I turned into a living room. I set up a stereo and a television. I even had cable, the old school kind with the box with the big brown buttons, and was happy because I was able to chill in private or go through the two porch doors to the other side of the house when I wanted to hang out with Jack. During the day, I relaxed and wrote a lot of rhymes, and just like I used to do with my uncles in Yonkers, I ran the streets of New Rochelle. I don't remember exactly why the man in a tank top and boxer shorts was chasing TQ and me that day, but I knew that we weren't paying him much attention, even though he was yelling and screaming, holding an aluminum baseball bat in his hand. He had a fat ass wife, and I think he must have heard us say something disrespectful to her as she went in the house, because he came flying out of there on a rampage. He was at least 50 something years old with a big swollen stomach, and he was dead serious about chasing us up the street in the flip flops he had on. Aha, I teased him as I ran all over. Who you think you're gonna catch with your old ass? Me and TQ could have jumped him, but I didn't know how well TQ could fight. And besides, I was having too much fun playing. Trying to be slick, I ran into this small parking lot across the street, not realizing that instead of concrete, the ground was covered with this loose black gravel. Fuck you, you fat bitch. Why don't you just suck my dick? I danced in front of him laughing. The old man came up to me and lifted the bat up to swing it at my head. I let him get close, but as soon as I saw his arm start to move forward, I went to run to dodge his swing, and then I slipped. The gravel didn't give me any traction, and that first step I took almost put me on my knees. Whoosh! I felt the wind of that bat fly right above my head, and my heart shot up into my throat. He swung that damn thing so hard it spun him all the way around. If I didn't slip, he would have cracked my head open like a melon. After a moment, I stopped playing with him and ran out of that parking lot as fast as I could. I was supposed to be dead at that moment. I felt the wind. Now that I lived in New Rochelle, my pussy average rose sharply. I could get play with the local honeys that were bored with the guys that they saw in the hood every day. And after the Bill Blast battles proved that I was the baddest rapper around, chicks were much more open. The year before, I probably would have still been bringing rats to the roof in Yonkers, but having a reputation and somewhere to go makes a lot of difference when you're trying to get some ass. That's probably why Kason started to think that he could play the hookup game with me. Yo, X, I got this girl who wants to meet you, he said to me one night at a bar called Arthur's. Her name was Tashira. Kason was dating her roommate, Nicole, and one night they had been listening to one of my tapes, and Tashira had asked him if he would introduce us. Kason played it slick, though. Yo, Tashira, I got this guy who wants to meet you. He told her the same thing at the club that night that he told me. Who? Does he know me? Tashira asked him. Yeah, he said he wants you to come and talk to him. Well, if he wants to talk to me, you could tell him to come here. A few minutes later, I walked over. DMX, this is Tashira. She was wearing an orange and black North Face bubble jacket with black pants. Tashira, this is DMX. I had on my jeans and a black hoodie. Wait, this is the rapper you and Nicole are always listening to? She asked Kay when she saw me. Yeah, this is my man X. You're DMX? But isn't your name Earl? Don't you live in School Street? Yeah, that's me. How you doing? You're the girl that lives on Linden Street, right? I asked the question, but I knew the answer already. I knew exactly who she was. She was the girl in the blue and white robe that I always dreamed about as a kid. So, what have you been up to? I asked her calmly, understanding that this was not the time or place to reveal the crazy thoughts I used to have about her. I'm doing good. I just can't believe you're the one that's everyone's talking about. Tashira remembered me mostly from Yonkers High, a freshman playing dice with the older kids at the castle and never going to class. She was shocked I had the audacity to bring a dog to campus, and she didn't believe all the rumors she heard about my robbing and stealing until she saw me rob an old lady for her purse in front of Betsy's grocery. I remembered the incident. Blackie did his thing that morning. I just didn't think that anyone saw me. As we talked, we found out that we had something in common. Because of her family's Muslim faith, the rules in her house growing up were almost as strict as mine were. She and her six brothers and sisters were never allowed to have friends over, and after her younger brother bust some kid in the head with a rock in the playground, her parents didn't let any of the kids go outside to play anymore. I could relate to that. It was a good night, and I knew it was something different. I knew it was some different shit because after a few minutes, the two of us actually got up and danced together. Can't keep my hands to myself when I'm with you. I wasn't a dancing nigga, and certainly wasn't a dancing girl. So we just did the real cool thing and just moved our shoulders from side to side. That worked for one song. I was glad that Kason introduced us that night. And when I went home, I was definitely feeling shorty. But then after that, we didn't speak for weeks. It wasn't like I didn't try. I just couldn't get her on the phone. Hello? Can I speak to Tashira, please? Who's this? Earl? Oh, you just missed her. She went to the store. It didn't seem to matter what time I called. Nicole or one of Tashira's sisters, Fatima or Shabaza, would always answer the phone and tell me that she wasn't there. She was either asleep, at work, or busy doing something in the kitchen. That wasn't right. I knew she was trying to play it cool. But I couldn't forget our conversation or that blue and white robe. By chance, a few weeks later, I saw her on the bus on my way to the mall. After we talked for a minute, she agreed to come with me. I just didn't tell her that I was going to rob something. Are you crazy? When Tashira realized what I was doing, she got mad and refused to come into any stores with me. But I ended up swiping a Gap hoodie for her anyway when she wasn't looking. That must not have helped my case any though, because after that day, her sister stayed giving me phony excuses. A few weeks later, I was hanging out in front of Steve's Market on Ashburton Avenue. I was feeling good because earlier that day I had robbed a young nigga in Serrato Park for his black leather coat. He didn't put up a fight once he saw me. He just ran his pockets and walked away grumbling. So first I went to McDonald's on South Broadway for a big ass lunch. Then I took myself to the barbershop for a cut. Life was good. While I was standing outside the spot, I looked up and saw Tashira and Nicole walking down the street. I knew she saw me because the closer she got, the more she kept trying to play it off. I hadn't spoken to her in almost a month. Yo, what's up? I called out. Yo, Tashira. When she turned, she had this shy, guilty look on her face. Don't you know that I've been calling your fucking house? Why you keep fronting? When she finally lifted her head, she quickly looked me up and down, and I could tell that she wanted to smile. Oh shit, for real? What time did you call? She said, trying to hold back a laugh. Yo, you're a frontin' ass nigga, man. I ain't got no time for that. Nicole tapped her on her shoulder as if to push her on. All right, I'm going to beep you tomorrow then, Tashira said. No, you won't. Watch, I promise. I'm going to beep you and we can go out or something. Tashira kept her word, but the night she invited me over to her house, she told me she had her period, so we couldn't mess around. That was probably a good thing, though, because I had stolen the Timbs I was wearing that night, and they were a few sizes too big for my feet. To make them fit, I balled up some sweat socks and stuffed them in the front of each boot. She didn't have to see that. During our conversation that night, Tashira told me that she wasn't going with anybody seriously, that she just had friends. I didn't care. Even if she did have a man, It wouldn't have made any difference to me. I knew that I could get Tashira to feel me more than any other clown that she may have been seeing. The next day, I stole a nice Honda Accord in New Rochelle and wanted to surprise her with it. When I called and asked her if she wanted to go for a ride, she told me to come over. That was 7:30. At 8 p.m., I got to her house. At 8:20, I was still standing in her doorway ringing the bell. Oh, hell no. I'm not going to get played out again. This ain't Connecticut. I knew she was home because I could see a light in the living room window and saw a shadow going back and forth behind the peephole. Fuck that. You are not going to do me greasy. I started banging and banging on the door. Tashira! No answer. Okay, this is how you want it? Now you get payback. Around this same time, I had met two other girls whose names sounded similar to Shira's. One was this cutie I met. One was this cutie named Indira that I met on the bus one day. The other was this freak named Lavera. When I told Kason how heated I was about getting stood up and said that I had written a rhyme that told a story about each of them, he said he had a perfect beat. Boogie Down Productions. I'm still number one. I recorded it that night. Once upon a time, I knew a girl named Tashira always fronting, so didn't know the person in the mirror. A few nights later, I was invited to perform at Brown Eyes. It was a reunion party for these old school YO rappers called the Tribal Brothers. It was also a birthday party for Nicole's baby son, so I knew Tashira would be there. With lyrics about people that the local crowd could relate to, and Kason cutting up such a hot beat on the turntables, Once Upon a Time blew up. At first, I thought she was just another fan, but then I started to like her. She didn't have a man, and this was the reason why I say that she was fronting. She had me confused about what she was really wanting. Like one night, if her period was off, she would have fucked me, but then she spent the whole next week trying to duck me. The crowd loved the record, and as soon as I hit the bar, my man told me that two of the girls were in the club. Indira wasn't bothered by the attention, but Tashira, can I talk to you for a minute? Tashira followed me outside as I was leaving. To avoid her, I started circling around a car parked in front of the club. Nah, for real, D, I want to talk to you. She was heated. Oh, so now the tables are turned, huh? Now I'm the one that's got something to laugh about. Yo, was that song about me? What do you mean? Which song? Everyone, including Nicole and all of Tashira's other girlfriends, was outside watching us. That song with all the girls was about me? Come on, Ma. Why you acting like that? Seeing her all embarrassed, I couldn't be mad. Now that I knew, now that I got her back good. I didn't say Tashira, I answered playfully. I said Tamira. Everyone laughed. Tashira started chasing me around the car faster and faster. I swear when I catch you, DMX, I'm gonna fuck you up. Revenge is sweet. I only did that because you're always fronting, I told her once she calmed down. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. But to prove it, why don't you come over to my house tonight? Where? I'm not going to School Street. Nah, not Yonkers. I have my own crib in New Rochelle. New Rochelle? At this time of night? What are we going to do? I'm hungry. How about I cook some French toast? Yeah, right. You don't know how to make breakfast, Earl. No, I don't. No, I do. Watch. I'll make the best French toast you've ever had. That was April 29th, 1989, one of the best nights of my life. Not only did Tashira come over and enjoy my breakfast, but the two of us stayed up all night just talking and bugging out. We watched TV. I showed her all of my rhyme books and pictures of my dog. She asked me if I wanted any kids and was surprised when I told her that I wanted a daughter. I'd rather my little girl knocked up pregnant than my son be dead or in jail somewhere. Tashira told me that when she was 14, her mother had left the family without a trace. One morning, she said she was going to the store and would be back in a few minutes, but never returned. There was no warning, no note. Her mom just vanished. Tashira and her sister spent days looking for her. in parks, in the local mosque, even in morgues. But they couldn't find her. After that, her father was never the same. He stopped selling the oils and incense on the street that he had been making a living from and stopped bringing food into the house for the kids. As the oldest child, Tashira quit school, took on her mother's role in the family, and started cooking, cleaning, and working a full time job. But after a few months of taking care of everything, her father started to take his pain out on his daughters and began to disrespect her. So Tashira left the house and had been living on her own ever since. I could relate to her pain. And when she opened her heart to me that night, I felt closer to her than any other woman in my entire life. That's when I told her I loved her. You're just trying to get some ass, she replied, sucking her teeth. I wasn't, but I couldn't prove that to her. Not yet, anyway. Tashira and I spent the next 3 days together. We couldn't get enough of each other because it was like we felt the same way about things, laughed at the same jokes. If we both saw something funny, we knew what it we knew what it was without telling the other person. In many ways, we were total opposites. She always dated light-skinned guys. I was dark-skinned with a bald head. She liked the pretty boy type. I never ironed or even cared about my clothes, but there was a special connection between us. With Tashira, I found myself being able to have fun with the woman in ways that I never thought possible. If we ever ran into a girl I used to mess with, we would hang out with the chick for a few minutes, maybe smoke a blunt. Then on the way home, I would reveal to her that I used to fuck the girl and we'd laugh. One time, I remember this tall, light skinned chick I had been messing with actually showed up at the spot in New Rochelle. I knew she still liked me, so I told Tashira to watch from behind the door. A couple of days before, the girl had told me that she wore a wig. Hey, what's up, girl? Listen, before you come in, can you do me a favor? Can you take your wig off for me? Why, D? Cause your hair just looks so real, ma. I just want to see if you were telling me the truth the other day. The girl hesitated for a few seconds, looked around, then grabbed the piece from the back of her head and pulled it forward. She was bald headed and had on a white stocking cap underneath. I thought Tashira was going to get us both busted by laughing so loudly. There, you happy? Can I come in now? Damn. I think my manager is going to be home in a little while. Can you call me tomorrow? Jack started calling Tashira Haagen-Dazs because he said she had to be my favorite. Nigga, what are you doing? You got Haagen-Dazs in there again? I'd be in the kitchen making more French toast. It was becoming our regular breakfast. Yeah, man, she's hungry. After a couple of months of dating, it became official that Tashira was my girl. Everyone in New Rochelle and Yonkers would always see us rolling together. And right away, brothers in the street knew they couldn't come at her sideways with no nonsense. I didn't even let anyone ask if she was fucking with me because I'd be liable to crack someone's head open if I thought they were trying to push up, and I'd creep anyone for being disrespectful. I never could tolerate a nigga that got down like that, even if it wasn't with my girl. My uncle Pinky was about to throw down one night outside of Bo Diggs' bar with some guy that grabbed his girlfriend's ass. Now, she was drunk. One of those bad, reckless drunks that talk real greasy when they drink. Motherfucker, why don't you suck my motherfucking dick? So she wasn't helping matters. But before my uncle and the guy could finish arguing, I just sneaked up behind him and punched the guy right in his face over my uncle's shoulder. Pinky didn't even see me coming, but the ass grabbing bastard was laid out on the pavement. I was more protective of Tashira and our relationship than I even was of myself because this was the first time in my life that I cared about someone this deeply. I was hungry and fresh out of group home when I was with LaShawn. Daphne burned me, but she was more of a trophy for a young nigga than anything else. And fucking rats on the rooftop was just that, fucking rats on a rooftop. But with Tashira, I felt the trust and respect and understanding that I longed for. I could only describe it in one way. Tashira gave me dog love.